What's going on, people? It is the 108th episode of the MMA podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. October 21st, we got a bunch to break down. Of course, this coming weekend, UFC 179, we're going to be breaking that down. We also have Glory middleweight Wayne Barrett on. We're going to talk to him about his career and his upcoming fight at Glory 18, Oklahoma City. We also have some pretty recent news to talk about. Cain Velasquez out of the UFC heavyweight fight against Fabricio Werdum. Mark Hunt is going to take his spot for an interim title. Does Mark Hunt have the chance to be a UFC champion? Cung, the UFC rescinds his UFC suspension. We'll talk about that. Talk about a whole bunch of shit. It is the MMA podcast. Let's do it, people.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast!
Thank you, Lenny Hart. Thank you, Eddie Bravo and the band Smoke Serpent for that beautiful intro song. It is Jiu-Jitsu by Smoke Serpent. And thank you for tuning in. Like I said, it is October 21st, or whatever the hell day it is when you're listening to this show on iTunes or YouTube. You can find the links to both of those feeds at themmapodcast.com. Just click the tabs at the top for the links. And if you are listening live on Ustream, you can call in. The phone number is 213-457-3380, or you can Skype us at the MMA Podcast. If you're listening, you want to chime in, but you don't feel like talking, just tweet us at the MMA Podcast. And like I said, thank you so much for tuning in. It is just me, and you guessed it, the host of the Word on the Street podcast. Ramses, what the hell's going on? What do you hear?
Thanks, Jake, from the MMA Podcast. It's a pleasure to be on your show once again. Always an honor when you have me on. You are truly blessed. I just want to say to everybody, if you want to hear the breaking news before it even breaks, if you want to hear about the latest UFC MMA shit before it even happens, you follow me on Twitter. It happened again today. All right? The big news, of course, Cain, we'll get to that, I'm sure. But if you wanted first, you were following me on Twitter, you already knew about it. By the time Ariel tweeted about it, guess what? Ariel Hawaii, you were at least 3 hours behind the ball, right? And you'll never get that with me because I have literally the word on the street. It's not just a clever nickname or catchphrase or Twitter handle. Follow me on Twitter. You'll realize the truth. Thank you, Jake, from the MMA Podcast. Word on the street.
And that is the news we are leading with tonight. Cain Velasquez. You heard it first. You know, the underground MMA broke it before all these mainstream bastards. The Aunt Jimmy Show broke it first. Talk MMA, our boy Diz, he broke it first. The UFC announced today that UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez suffered a right knee injury during training and was forced to withdraw from his championship fight against number one contender Fabricio Werdum in Mexico City on November 15th. And as a result, number 4 heavyweight Mark Hunt, who is 10-8-1 in pro MMA, fighting out of Auckland, New Zealand, coming off a walkaway knockout against the Iron Chin Roy Nelson in Tokyo in September, will face Werdum in the 5-round main event for the interim UFC heavyweight title. Quote, "I'm so unbelievably disappointed that this happened," said Cain Velasquez, the current UFC heavyweight champion. "To say I was looking forward to fighting in Mexico for the first time is an understatement. I wanted to fight on that card so bad. Looks like it wasn't meant to be, and it's not going to happen. I'm going to get my right knee fixed and get back to training as soon as I can. I'm sorry to the fans in Mexico who are expecting this fight, and I hope to be able to come down and still be a part of this historic event." Man, so it's sort of a shame that the UFC's first big Mexico card, which was going to be headlined by the biggest Mexican star, the UFC champ, the Mexican American Cain Velasquez, he's out. It's going to be Hunt versus Werdum. Before we break down the interim title and all of that, what do you make of the injury bug, man? It is like it is really hard to find a champion who has not been out a bunch above 145. You have Pettis who's been dealing with a bunch of shit. Johnny who just got his bicep operated on. Weidman who was gonna fight Vitor, but that fight's been moved to next year because Weidman needed to get his knee worked on. Jones ankle surgery, and now Cain. I mean, this is getting kind of preposterous. And it's only 25 days away. We'll talk about the implications of that, and Mark Hunt, and he'll need to drop from over 300 to make 265. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, what do you make of all of this injury shit, and how did you know before the mainstream media? You cocksucker.
Well, I knew because I have the word on the street. Like I said, it's not a clever nickname. I literally have it, people. I've been fortunate enough to get into the sport early on, make the right connections, befriend a lot of people. I have social skills, believe it or not. Not real life skills, but enough to get in with the right people. You hear the word on the street. You hear what's going to happen, and if you have any sort of reasonable ability to deduce anything in your mind, if you're a reasonable person when it comes to logical progression and prediction, when fed a number of components to where you can put something together, you're able to reason out what's going to happen generally in life, but specifically if you're focused on MMA, UFC, you hear enough, it congeals. You become the oracle of MMA, basically. You're the gateway through which information passes through. You filter it out. You decide what is reasonable, what is not, what is outright just dismissible, what is possible, what is plausible, what's resonating, what are enough people saying, are these people reputable, do they have a history of being right? If certain things pan out and check out, you go with it. That's what I do. I put it all together. It's the word on the streets, what people are talking about it. Are enough people talking about it, buzzing about it, to where it must be true, or some element of it must be true? Yes. In that case, I will report it. I went with it. I knew it before it was announced. Cain Velasquez was horribly injured and out, and Mark Hunt versus Werdum would be the interim title fight. You go with it because you know. You hear experience and you just put it together in your head. That is the word on the street. That's the shorthand for it. Of course, you could always just say I'm a psychic and I'm from the future. I have an insight, and it's a miracle. It's a coincidence every fucking time it happens. All right, you can believe that, but that's how I knew. And what do I think about it? It's great. Cain, man, you knew it was all over once he put his house up for sale in California, his $1 million mansion. Once he was selling that, I was like, why is he doing this? And yeah, they immediately, when he announced that it was all over, he was pulling out of the fight. They didn't waste any time stripping him of his title, putting it up for rent, dude. Interim title fight. That tells you all you need to know. This guy's horribly injured. He's too injury prone. It's time, when your investment ain't returning, you got to cash in, and I believe that's what the UFC has done, unfortunately, for Cain Velasquez. But, yep, I didn't see it coming. This guy, one of the best in the business, but it is unfortunate how injury prone he has become. He's now a liability, so this is a good move on the UFC's part to immediately just dismiss him, not pull a Cruz or anything like that, or a GSP. It's all over. Move on. Good for them.
Which it's pretty funny. In 2 days, that'll be the 4-year anniversary of the Brock Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez fight. Since that fight, Cain Velasquez has only fought 2 different people. He lost to Junior Dos Santos at UFC on Fox 1. He beat Antonio Silva. He beat Junior in the rematch fight. He beat Silva in the first defense, and he beat JDS in the last fight he fought in just about exactly 1 year ago. This is when you were ranting, I sort of thought this is sort of a trend that is only localized to mixed martial arts. If you're a football fan, a basketball fan, a baseball fan, you never hear like, oh, the Super Bowl has been postponed to June because the Seattle Seahawks got in a motorcycle accident. But this has turned into such a regular thing. I mean, we are literally 5 for 5 for injured champs above 145. We'll call them the classical 5 weight classes, because for a long time the UFC was just lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light heavy, and heavy. And currently, with these 5 weight classes, which are definitely the revenue earners, a heavyweight title fight will make so much more money than a flyweight fight, because someone's going to get knocked out. It's not, 2 really small guys just jumping around the octagon for 25 minutes. And yeah, Pettis has not fought since he beat Bindo at UFC 164. Johnny still has, he's been out for a long time with his bicep. Weidman, which Weidman and Jones are probably the best 2 of the 5, because they do at least fight. Weidman fought 3 months ago. And has fought at a pretty decent pace, beating Silva twice, beating Lyoto, and he is, honestly, from all of this stuff I've seen about Vitor super drawn out off of the TRT, I think Chris is going to mow him over in the fight coming next year. But Jones, he hurt his ankle, which it was really fucking crazy, because apparently he got ankle surgery, but 2 days after ankle surgery, he posts an Instagram picture of him, I think at like SummerSlam or something, jumping around, fake sparring with Tyson. Like, oh, true. He definitely couldn't have fought 3 months after that, even though he's fucking hopping around on both feet. And Cain, he hasn't fought in a year, was going to fight in a little less than a month, and now he is out. And it's sort of a thing we've gotten used to now. The last few years, I don't know whether if it's sort of a change in the mental state of champions, whether back in the day you had champions who would fight with an injury, and now because the championship means so much money, champions refuse to fight injured. What is with all of these, is it overtraining? Why is it seemingly impossible to have a champion above featherweight who can stay not injured in a string of 3 to 4 fights? It just is not happening.
Yeah, you're getting close to the answer there. Basically, you were like, the MMA in particular, we see the injuries, that it just seems to be happening. You don't see it in the NFL. Obviously, the NFL, the NBA, obviously it's a team sport. You could have your top 6 guys get injured, but the game will still go on. It will still happen. MMA, it's one-on-one, of course, obviously. So it's just the one guy. If the one guy's injured, that's it. The fight's over. The thing is, though, when you reach the championship level, and I've noticed this, and I don't think anybody else has really reported on it or even tried to even factor this in, but since the UFC, the Zuffa, instituted, the fighter health insurance, all paid for, since that happened, I've noticed that when someone gets that belt, makes a championship run and gets it, all of a sudden it's injury time, it's surgery time, it's time to fix the things that were probably fucked up for years prior, honestly. I mean, and I don't blame them. I mean, it's simple logic. I mean, you won the belt. You want to be champion for as long as possible because while you're champion, the sponsorships keep rolling in, the opportunities, the offers keep getting higher and higher. If you're the champion, the longer you're in that slot, the more opportunities come at you. And obviously, if you're injured and you've just reached that spot, UFC's got they've got that fighter insurance. You need that surgery. Something's been nagging at you for years. Why the fuck not take care of it and still be
Damn.
championship and still be a champion the whole fucking time? Why not? Everybody's done it. Cain's done it a few times. Demetrius Johnson, John Jones. Actually, I can't name anybody that has not. Cain Velasquez included. I mean, this is his third, fourth surgery as a champion.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Taking advantage of that insurance, who wouldn't do it while you're at the top? Because it's not like, oh man, I just got defeated. Now I'm on the injured list. Nah, I'm the champion. Like, Cain ain't. He's not gonna lose too much sleep over this interim shit. As soon as he rehabs and gets better, he's gonna get back in there for the title shot, unless he's totally fucked up. And unfortunately, though, they did. I mean, was the UFC Mexico debut, and they did cut Cain. Well, he pulled out, but you know what I'm saying. They're keeping this event rolling without him and giving up his title to somebody else. That suggests to me that Cain is pretty damn fucked up, and that's sad to hear. But yeah, you're right, Jake. Man, they do play the injury card because they can. I don't blame them for it. But yeah, there's no such thing as an injury bug. Everybody's always fucked up with some injury or another. Even the average person, even you or me, we don't even fucking fight.
I got
We
a
have
nagging
nagging
shoulder.
injuries right now. Right, we got shit fucked up. Let's imagine if that's what you do every fucking day. Like, trust me, these guys are all types of fucked up. I don't blame them when they take the time off to get it healed up or patched up. But when they do this to the fans that they already agreed to a fight and then they do this, it's kind of lame. So Cain,
It was garbage.
yep, step back, give it up. Mark Hunt versus Werdum. Meh, but I'll watch.
It's exactly what we are about to break down. We get a quote from the guy who was going to be fighting Cain, now will be fighting Hunt. Quote, "I'm ready for whatever comes. I've been training in Mexico for nearly 2 months and will accept the challenge that is presented to me. I'll continue to prepare and will arrive ready to fight on behalf of all my Latin American fans." Mark Hunt never one to shy away from a big opportunity, wasted no time accepting a dream opportunity to fight for UFC Gold. To fight for UFC Gold. Quote, "I feel blessed to have this opportunity to fight for another world title. This is something that doesn't happen often to people. First K1 and now UFC. How can I say no, even though it's on short notice? I'm dropping everything and flying to Mexico tomorrow so I can best prepare myself for this fight. I have to get in shape and acclimatize to that environment, which is very important. There's nothing to lose when you're competing against the best at the top level, and it is going to be November 15th at the Arena Mexico City in Mexico City. It's going to be a really fun fight. I really want to say that Werdum is just going to march out there. His striking has looked so good. He embarrassed Travis Brown. He embarrassed Roy Nelson, both with his really great striking. Saying that though, I mean, man, part of me doesn't want to rule out Mark Hunt. Does Mark Hunt have a chance to win UFC Gold, albeit an interim title? You know, it would be an interim UFC heavyweight strap.
I'll keep this answer short. I don't believe that Mark Hunt will win this fight based solely on the fact that it is short notice. He did already admit, and it was pretty stupid of him, he admitted to being over 300 pounds currently at the moment. And the fight's on November 15th. Today is October 22nd. That's roughly 3 weeks. That's what, 21, 22 days to lose about, 50 pounds at least? I mean, 45 to 50 pounds. So basically, Mark Hunt will have to lose on average 3 pounds a day up until fight day. Of course, it doesn't happen like that, but you get what I'm saying. He's largely overweight. I don't believe he's going to be able to effectively train for Fabricio Werdum, who is, Jesus, if you even want to call it a smaller man, but I mean, he's not 300 pounds. He's going to be in shape. He's lethal. He hits hard. He submits hard. Mark Hunt, I don't believe he will have an answer. It's going to be another one of these things where the only way Mark Hunt wins is through a lucky punch. And other than that, I don't believe it's going to happen. For Fabricio, I think he's got this one. He's more Mexican. Therefore, the odds are in his favor just based on that alone. And Jesus, man, this guy's 300 pounds. And he's going to fight for the title in 3 weeks. Anything could happen. I wouldn't be surprised because Mark Hunt gets crazy lucky. Well, not lucky, but, he's a tough son of a bitch. But the odds are against him on this one. I'm going to go for Fabricio. And he's the most Mexican, and that's the bottom line.
And that is the bottom line. I think I'm leaning the same direction. As much as it would delight me to see Hunt get that interim strap, Werdum has been on a tear, and I'm not sure if Hunt is top 5. He's definitely top 10, but I definitely think the Brazilian, the way he's been fighting recently, is not going to be, knocked out, and that's basically Hunt's only option as far as winning. Moving on, one last topic before we get to the Wayne Barrett interview. I spoke to Wayne Barrett this past weekend. It was about a 25-minute chat I had with the Glory middleweight, who will probably be fighting for a title early 2015, I would say. But let's get to Cung Le. The 1-year suspension Cung Le received after testing positive for excess levels of HGH in a post-fight drug test following his 4th-round TKO loss to Michael Bisping and UFC Fight Night 48 has been rescinded. Promotion officials announced today, with the UFC serving as its own governing body, as per usual for overseas shows in a territory lacking an athletic commission. Both Bisping and Lee were subject to enhanced blood and urine drug testing following their fight in Macau, in addition to regular pre- and post-fight drug testing. Lee was initially found to have failed the test. However, several flaws with the UFC's testing process were uncovered in the ensuing days, chief among them the fact that the testing facility employed by the UFC, the Hong Kong Functional Medical Testing Center, was found to not be a lab approved and operated under the standards of the World Anti-Doping Agency, aka WADA. In addition, the blood sample drawn from Lee was discovered to have been taken just minutes after the end of the fight with Bisping, despite the belief that HGH levels tested post-exertion undergo significant natural increase from normal levels. Lee was going to appeal the 1-year suspension, but in light of today's decision, that's obviously not necessary. And, I guess Lee will keep pretending like he never tested hot. He got what a lot of fighters wish they did, but he got an out and he's taken advantage of it, and the 1-year suspension has been rescinded. I think we all think that he was probably on a shitload of HGH, judging by the pictures that were released of him before the fight, but the guy got lucky. What are your thoughts, Ramses?
You're completely right, man. Cung Le, man, he was obviously, there's no doubt in any reasonable person's mind that this man was roided out of his goddamn mind. His veins were bursting out of his body. Everyone saw it. All right, but it was a piss poor piss test. That's the bottom line. The commission, whatever the commission was. It was just some paid guys just scooping up piss by the UFC, basically. And Cung Lee recognized this. I mean, some guy probably came by after the Bisping fight. Cung Lee's sitting there bloated, bleeding, puffy-eyed, but he still recognized that some dude in a ratty-ass suit was trying to take his piss. And so when it came back hot and he popped, he was like, man, that test wasn't really fucking legit. I bet I could, you know, he did it. He contested it. Cung Lee wins. There's no, you have to have like a, what's it called? It's not a trail of evidence. It's a chain of custody, and
Yep.
it wasn't maintained in this case. That's the bottom line. So guess what? It gets thrown out of court, just like when you murder somebody. But you know they make a mistake when they're taking your fingerprint, and now you're next thing you know you're back in Austin doing the MMA podcast on a Tuesday night. That's the bottom line. God bless Cung Lee. He wins this time, and honestly, let them take their fucking medicine. All right, the man's 40 years old. This is the only way he can compete, and you guys are trying to keep him unhealthy. Like, what? He was making money for you guys. None of this makes any sense. That's the bottom line. Cung Lee, congratulations. You beat the system. If only Chill could do the same. Word on the street.
If only, you think he tests hot in one of his next couple fights. I heard his reps are saying he isn't sure if he's going to retire or not. Our boy at Steve Mazzagatti tweets in, hold on, tweet deck popped up and then it faded away. Everyone should apologize to Cung Lee. That's right. And you know who is chief among the people who need to apologize to Cung Lee, Ramses?
Uh-oh. Brian
fucking Stan.
You're
What do you think
goddamn
about
right.
this cogsucker now?
Well, Brian Stan, man, obviously he tried to make Cung Lee eat crow, and then he ate crow, and then Cung Lee was back chomping on that shit. But now it's back on you, Brian Stan, and that's the bottom line. Now what are you going to do, you son of a bitch? You complaining bastard. You weak-ass pony boy. I don't care how many tours of duty you've done. Have you ever faced me, you son of a bitch? I'm calling you out right now. Word on the street.
That's right. We got a lot more to break down in this podcast, including the end of the show. We're going to break down UFC 179, Mendez versus Aldo 2. We're going to talk about the possibility of Alexander Gustafsson versus Rashad Evans, Thiago Alves versus Jordan Meehan. It was a fight we were going to see before it got scrapped, but it's back on. Who you got in that one? Talking about Weidman saving some old-ass lady's life. Is he a hero for just calling 911, or are people making too much of the story? Daniel Cormier, given the full-time UFC Tonight gig. I guess the UFC was sort of giving a lot of guys a shot after they let Chael go, but they have landed on Daniel Cormier. But first, we got to get to it. Our interview with Wayne Barrett. We actually did this this past Sunday night. Wayne Barrett, a middleweight glory kickboxer, was undefeated, 4-0 going into Glory 17, and fought in that last man standing 8-man event, beat Bogdan Stoico with a third round knockout, and then fought Joe Schilling in a fight where, if you watched Glory 17, I think most people thought that Wayne Barrett won, but it was in LA, it was in Joe Schilling's backyard. I think Joe Schilling got the victory because of crowd noise, so he lost a split decision. He got his first pro loss, but he's going to be fighting again in Glory 18 this, I guess now in 2.5 weeks, November 7th in Oklahoma City against Jason Wilness, and I think if this guy gets an impressive victory, he's going to get a title shot against R. Tim Levin. This guy is an absolute beast. We talked about his career, his training partners. He talked a little bit about a friend of the show, Uriah Hall, his training partner, a little bit about GSP, and of course his upcoming fight. So without any further ado, my chat with Glory middleweight, Wayne Barrett. We have the hard-hitting Glory middleweight on tonight. Wayne Barrett, how are you doing today, man?
Hey, doing awesome, guys. What's going on?
Not too much. I'm doing fine. Let's get straight into it. I do want to get into your upcoming match against Jason Wilness at Glory 18 in a little bit. But first, I wanted to talk about your early life in the sport. I read an interview actually where you said that martial arts movies really inspired you. Were there any movies in particular that stand out as a source of inspiration to a young Wayne Barrett?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Van Damme's Bloodsport and Lionheart. Those are two movies that get me in the zone.
Bloodsport. That is one of my favorites too. Did you watch much of like the Asian genre, Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon, all that?
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. You know, I've watched a lot of Enter the Dragon is absolutely a classic. You know, Jackie Chan. Rumble in the Bronx. You know, like all the old school Jackie Chan stuff. I mean, but I'm into like old school stuff. I'm talking about like old school Wu-Tang. Like karate movies where they've got like the bald head and just like the really long ponytail in the back. You know, like when you get into karate flicks, it's like guys like Invincible Finger, Eagle's Claw. You know what I mean, like stuff like that. Like those really are the ones that do it. I mean, now that I look back on it, I mean the cinematography was terrible, and they put powder on their hands to make everything look awesome. But as a kid, when you see it, you think that you can fly off the buildings and you can, disappear and walk quietly like a ninja. So
like
all that
superhuman
stuff helped me. Yeah.
Cool. So you just decide to start training. But what was the moment when you realized, like, wow, martial arts is something I could really make a living doing? Like, this could be my career.
It's funny. I never really thought of it as a career or making a living. I mean, whenever I fight, I just do it. I just do it for myself. I never really have to do it for anyone else. Becoming a professional fighter to me was just something that I wanted to do. It really wasn't because I wanted to pay bills or do anything.
All right. So, you trained a bunch of styles growing up, boxing, karate. What was it about kickboxing that made you want to go in that direction?
I mean, kickboxing has always been fun. And kickboxing has always been exciting to me. Watching guys over in Europe, like Tyrone Spahn, Gohan Saki, and even to really take it back, I mean, really Ernesto Hoost, Raymond Decker. Now you're taking it back. What's his name, Cain. But I was really taken into it. There's a gentleman in Europe called Ray Sugarfoot, and I saw a video of him from a buddy, and man, I was hooked. This guy was in and out. He was doing his thing, and he was fighting a really tough guy that just kept pressing forward. And his name is Dita. Like these are old school names. I mean, guys like like real old school heads would remember in kickboxing. And I just so happened to just run across their tapes, and just really sparked the interest in me. But I am a Muay Thai guy first, so I will tell guys that I do respect Muay Thai. I love everything about Muay Thai. I love the sweeps. I love the clinch, the elbows, the knees. And, it's just that kickboxing also honors, where I come from and where, is my boxing background.
Yes, Cepho. He's got one of my favorite nicknames in kickboxing for sure. Sugarfoot is perfect. I wanted to ask, because we do cover kickboxing, but it is mainly a mixed martial arts centric show. Did you ever think about pursuing mixed martial arts instead of kickboxing?
Absolutely have an interest in all combat sports.
Oh, you still
right
do?
now,
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, right now my focus is kickboxing. I mean, Glory is my home. Glory is who I'm trying to grow with. They're the guys that gave me the opportunity when a lot of other organizations at this magnitude would not have. So I have to stay loyal to Glory. I have to stay loyal to them at this moment, at this point. And because they treat me well and they give me the opportunity to get to know, for fans to get to know who I am in such a short period of time. So right now my focus is kickboxing, but, all my training partners, everyone that I train with, they're all MMA stars. I trained with one of my very good friends and close training partners, David Branch. He's World Series of Fighting middleweight champion. I trained with Liam McGarity. He just won the Bellator 205 championship. I've trained. I trained with Douglas Lima. I've trained with Brian Stans, George St. Pierre before. I've trained with a ton of guys. So I respect them, and that sport is the real deal. Those guys are all powerful, strong, and they get it going.
Out of all those guys you just mentioned, who's been the most difficult training partner you've met up with so far?
That's a great question. One guy I really don't like. Nah, he's my good friend too. This guy better stay out of kickboxing though. But I didn't mention him. It's Uriah Hall in the UFC. He's a really good buddy of mine. But he's just like me, man. The guy's explosive. The guy's got better. He's a karate background guy, and he went all the way. I mean, the guy's just annoying. He's got good footwork, and he is the fastest person I've ever went up against.
Yeah, he's another Jamaica Queens guy. We've had him on our show I think 2 or 3 times. Really nice dude.
Yeah.
You go 19-1 in kickboxing as an amateur, have a successful pro debut, and then you join Glory Kickboxing. Was it nerve-wracking at all for you to be signed by Glory, who has a pretty stacked roster of tough middleweights?
At the moment when Glory came around, I don't think that, the difficulty and things of that aspect were ever on my mind. It was just more, I made a decision once I turned pro to go with it as far as I could. I gave myself 2 years, in my own little, short-term goals kind of list to see if this was exactly what I wanted it to be. And I said, hey, I'm going to give it 2 years, and if it doesn't go where I want it to go, then, I'll do something else. But the minute I became pro, things just started happening. And I can't look back. To say I'm not anxious, at first I was, but now it's a business. Glory has helped me to be on the big stage so many times now that I understand it. I understand what my job is, and it's to go out there and fight. And it doesn't matter who you put in front of me. It's my job to be ready and to go.
Yeah, and you started out white hot. You go 3-0 in your first 3 Glory fights, and then it's announced that there's going to be an 8-man middleweight championship tournament. What was your first reaction to learning that you'd be a part of that?
Well, as an amateur, I was used to the tournament style. It's, like you show up and you show up, ISK, WK kind of stuff, and it's like 3 fights, 4 fights in one day. So I was already really used to that. I just believed in myself. I believed that I should have, and I will one day win that tournament. But it was definitely different. The competition was high level, and absolutely the thing for me is nerves will help me to train harder. And, it definitely gave me a little bit of nerves, but it also gave me, a lot of direction.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask if you had fought multiple times in a single night before that. You obviously had. What is that experience like, and how does it differ from, say, a night like Glory 18, where for sure you only be fighting one time that night?
Oh, man. I mean, to me, I like either one. But because it was such a long layoff for me until the tournament was announced, I really just didn't like how long of a layoff I had. Like Artem was really smart. He was the only one out of the bunch, go figure, who had a fight about 2 months or like a month and a half before the tournament, so he could be sharp. Everyone else, we just kind of were just waiting. Even though I wanted to fight, I requested to fight so many times, but they didn't want us to get hurt, prior to the tournament. But it's the tournament training is unique, but training for one person has become a little bit more delightful, to say the least.
Yeah, I was curious, especially those quarterfinal and semifinal fights where you might have to fight again. Are you holding back at all to make sure you don't get banged up, break a hand, break a
Yeah,
foot, something like that?
yeah, a little bit. I think that's really what happened in the fight with Joe, is that I was holding back a little bit. I wanted to be smart. I know Joe's game, and I was just like, hey, I want to hold off, and I have to wait, and I'll save it what I have for Artem. But it's lesson
Yeah.
learned, and it's part of growing. Everyone talks about just being in the ring and winning, but sometimes it's not. It's so much more. And I think I was on such a tear that I needed to be reminded that, hey, it's not just about winning. You've got to be mentally ready for every situation, and being a professional and being at this level so fast has helped me to understand that, and I've been growing, rapidly fast. I think if this was like high school, if these are some AP classes, I'm going through really fast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this tournament, your first fight was a dominant one-sided quarterfinal match against Bogdan Stoica, but you suffered a pretty nasty hematoma on your forehead.
Oh
Were
my
you
goodness.
worried? Were you worried that you wouldn't be able to go on because of that lump?
You know what? I felt it. So when it happened, I thought I was cut over the head. Like I was
Yeah.
on the sidelines and like touching my forehead, and I was like, God, am I cut? And I couldn't tell. My head was throbbing, and and all I knew was I didn't want anyone to hit me in my head right there. And then so so I was like, man, I got to start hitting this guy harder. Because like you said, I was holding back. I was being really smart with him in the first two rounds, but I was like, oh my god, my head is thumping so bad. I just got to start hitting this guy for real, and just started hitting him for real, and got the knockout. And when I went upstairs, my coaches just did a really good job. There were no mirrors, so I couldn't see my head, and I was like, what is going on? Why is
That's
everyone just
probably a good
focused?
thing.
Yeah, no, it was an awesome thing. But what a lot of guys don't know is, when I came back down to fight Joe, they had Mike Lemire, who was the alternate, who won the reserve match, all dressed up, and because everyone
Wow.
anticipated that I wouldn't do it, and I was like, no, 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 we had a quick little tiff like back there, not between me and Mike, but just between like the commission and everything. And we were like, listen, no one came to us and told us that. No, they didn't even come to inspect me. They just I anticipated I wasn't going to be able to come out, which wasn't cool. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I was. Yeah, I was really impressed. You moved on to the next fight. It straight up looked like you had a golf ball just sitting under your forehead.
dude,
It
that,
was.
that thing was huge, man. I had such a
Yeah.
like it was just throbbing. I was like it's like an alien. It was just growing, man. It was just growing.
Yeah, well, and let's move on. Yeah, you were able to move on to the semifinals, and you faced Joe Schilling in an insanely entertaining fight. Frankly, I thought you won 29-28, but judges awarded Schilling with a split decision victory. I think crowd noise factored a lot into that judge's nod. But what were your thoughts on that fight against Schilling?
Absolutely disappointed, but also, as much as I don't like to say too much, I don't have any personal beef with Joe, but I mean, listen, I'm learning, right? And he gave me my first big test in Madison Square Garden main event, and he gave me also my first professional loss. Controversial or not, a loss is a loss, and it's a learning experience, and whatever. This guy's in my life to teach me stuff, and I'm learning. I was really ticked off for a long time about it. It disappointed me. My dream was to stay undefeated. My mindset is an old school boxing mindset where I believe that guys go undefeated their whole career, and when you take a loss, you're pretty much a wrap. But I have to start finding the silver lining, as they say. And I look back at a ton of guys that had great, amazing careers. George St. Pierre lost to Matt Hughes. George St. Pierre also lost to Matt Serra because he took him lightly. But that guy's still an awesome guy. I like boxing. Guys like Bernard Hopkins. He lost his first pro fight ever. Now look at that guy at 48, still beating ass. And it just goes on and on and on. John Jones was on the tear, and then he got disqualified, and got a loss in his career. So it's not always about the actual career. No one can be Mayweather, and have this illustrious undefeated career. People have losses. Even Dominic Cruz, one of my favorite fighters, he has one loss to Uriah Faber on his on his record as well, and Jose Aldo, so I started just looking and seeing like all these guys that have great, amazing careers as a fighter, but they don't necessarily have like an undefeated record. And, it just helped me to cope, I guess, and to grow and to understand that there's more to this.
Yeah, you make a really excellent point. In this era, it's so much different to have. You never see guys who finish their career with a 0 in the loss column. Honestly, I think Floyd might be the last one. You have guys who are absolute legends: Fedor, Anderson, GSP.
Mm-hmm.
They all not only have losses, they have multiple losses. So to take a loss, definitely that first one has got to be really rough. But what did you sort like? What was it that let you sort of get over that hump and start focusing, on future opponents like the upcoming one next month at Glory 18?
I mean, it was really just time, and I think everything happens with time. I think I had enough time to focus. I had enough time to sulk and be a baby, but I knew I've been watching fighting for a while, and I study not just guys in the ring. I studied demeanor, and I study how they carry themselves. Whether it be who they are truly or just that if they have a great PR guy. It really was just that, like what we just spoke about, just knowing that, guys aren't always going to be like Floyd. And we live in a time now where everyone trains like an elite athlete. Like, even if you go to a CrossFit gym, you got guys that train as if they can go in there and do 12, 15 rounds with Muhammad Ali nowadays, and that's just what it is. The reality is that I'm at the top of the game right now when it comes on to the kickboxing. And, this is a reality, I didn't go down on a punch. I didn't get knocked out, knock on wood, but these are all things that I have to take into to factor in, into my decision to move on and just not cry over spilled milk.
Definitely, yeah. And you actually did mention that you defeated Joe Schilling once before back on your turf at Glory 12. Do you have any desire to have a rubber match with Joe anytime soon?
Joe's the only guy so far that I've never knocked out, as a professional. So yeah, it definitely lingers in the back of my head to get that job done.
Sure. I bet. Just a few more questions left. Your upcoming fight is going to be at Glory 18. Takes place on November 7th on Spike TV. You take on the young Dutch fighter Jason Wilness, who has a ton of fights under his belt. How have you been prepping for this fight, and what are your thoughts about your upcoming opponent?
Jason Wilness is a good guy. He does a lot of really great things. I like his boxing. I like his demeanor. He's a guy that. He's just going to keep pressing forward. There's no backpedaling on this guy. He likes to come forward. He likes to throw the left body shot. Likes to throw the inside leg kick. Likes to just chop at the legs, and he keeps his hands up when he kicks really well. I think for Jason, I haven't really changed anything. We just having a great time. Staying healthy is a really important aspect I found out to training, and I'm healthy. I'm 100%. No injuries, no aches. And, that alone makes me feel great about this fight. But, for Jason, I've done my homework. I watch him a lot. I see what he does, where he makes his mistakes. And I know what he does and he doesn't like to do in the corner, in the ring. So, it's going to be a great night. It's going to be my night. Again, it's a fight. Anything can happen. I acknowledge that. But, the thing about me is I know how to fight. I know how to move. I know how to control the ring. And, he's got pressure on him to win. And I know that the first round, he's going to come out there and try to unload on me like a freaking M16. I'm just going to have to weather the storm, and he fades out after the first round all the time. He tries to impose his will and hits really hard, but then, second and third round, he's not the same guy. I mean, his output is high, but the power is not there anymore.
Yeah, I heard a pretty interesting interview with you where you were saying you really like to make adjustments inside the ring, be like water. What, like, how much of the fight is homework and preparation and knowing what he's gonna do, and what percent is just reacting to what he's actually doing inside the ring?
I'll be totally honest. During training camp, it's 90. I'm mental. I'm watching him. I'm seeing everything that he does, and it goes. And the night of the fight, it never fails. It is all reaction. There is no game plan. It is all because the reality is guys try to change, and guys try to come with a different formula. I mean, when I come in, even when I spar, I've got sparring partners that I spar for years, and I tell these guys, I don't remember their moves. Like I hear guys talking like, oh yeah, I know that you like to throw this and I know that you like to throw that. And they're like, what do you, the guys always ask me their opinion, and I hate, and sometimes I hope they don't think that I'm just trying to belittle them. Guys say, Wayne, you see anything that you can help me with? And I always answer, I say, I really don't. I really wasn't looking for anything. And it's not being rude. It's just that I don't like to build a memory bank of people's moves, because I just want to be able to see it, react, and that's really that's always been the theme. I train with my coaches, but whenever I do my own individual training, I just want to be loose. I may know the guy for 4 or 5 years, and I act like I just met him. I don't know how he's going to throw. I don't know how hard he hits. And I purposely block that out of my mind.
Yeah, wow. When it comes down to it, if you get that W next month, do you think you should be given a title shot against Artem Levin?
I mean, I believe that I will get that title shot, and I believe that I have to do my job. A title shot will be great. Right now, my job is to get through Jason Wilness. That's my job. That's the mission at hand right now, and that's my focus. I'm only focused on him at this moment, at this point in my career. Getting past Jason Wilness is, something that must be done. This is my mission right now. The belt will come to me as long as I do my job, and that's the mindset that I have. I do my job, I will get that belt. And, a fight against Jason Wilness and a decisive win, a knockout, a KO of Jason Wilness definitely will put me into a contention. I know I'm already in contention, but I like people, in this business, people, need to see you keep fighting and to give validation. I know who I am, so I just want to keep fighting for the fans and keep fighting for the naysayers and the people that don't believe that a guy with 6 fights can contest a guy like Artem Levin.
I like it. Levin versus Barrett is a fight I really, really want to see. Final question.
I want to see too.
Last question. I wanted to ask you about that Adidas sponsorship. Obviously a big name brand, so congratulations on landing that. I'm curious though, did you have to go through your closet and throw away everything you own that had a Nike swoosh on it?
Oh man, I'm learning that when you get these big contracts, you get phone calls like, "Hey man, I saw a picture and you weren't in your Adidas stuff going on." I was like, "Oh, yeah." So definitely, Big Brother's definitely watching in these terms, But Adidas is a great company. I was fortunate enough to land a deal with them, and these guys take care of me. And the least I can do as an athlete, as a young, humble, up-and-coming guy is honor, their request. And, if all I have to wear is Adidas, then listen, that's just what I have to do. There are a ton of guys that would kill for this opportunity. And, listen, it took a little bit of a transition to understand how this world works. But, someone spending money and giving you stuff and you just got to make a phone call and you get everything that you need. I mean, I got to be able to play ball too, So yeah, I'm pretty much Adidas out right now, down to even the boxes.
Well, man, it has been an honor to have you on the show. Any plugs, sponsors, anything like that you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Hey, man, I just want to say thank you to all the fans, to everyone that's supporting kickboxing, and to yourself. Obviously to Adidas Combat Sports, those guys for getting behind me. Really not Rocking Wellness, another great sponsorship. My coaches, Jason Stroud, shout out to all my training partners and all the guys in the Win team. And, November 7th, guys, tune into Spike TV and watch me do my thing and watch a lot of other talented young men and individuals do their thing as well.
Follow him on Twitter at 1WayneBarrett. That's the number 1WayneBarrett. Barrett has 2 R's and 2 T's. And everyone listening, tune in to Spike TV Friday, November 7th, 9 p.m. Eastern to see Mr. Wayne Barrett lay some lumber. Wayne, thanks again. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys, man. God bless.
See you, man.
All right.
And there he goes, Mr. Wayne Barrett. Glory middleweight. It's getting a little late. It's 2 a.m. on the East Coast. Ramses, are you still awake? Are you holding in with us?
Yeah, man, and it's not like that wasn't great. I'd listened to that whole interview. I was there the whole time, but like I was just laying back and making deals with myself. I was like, all right, I'll lay back a little bit more on an angle and close my eyes for a couple minutes as I listen to this interview. And I started getting peaceful. I almost drifted off, man, but I'm still here. I was just giving you fair warning, man. It is very late at night. I did work a long ass day for the man. All right, people. So bear with me, and I do apologize, Jake. I should have had more caffeine or something. I don't do caffeine. I don't know if that would work or not. Yeah, that just makes me more sleepy, and the cigars, and of course, the marijuana. But yeah, man, I'm having a good time. Good interview with Mr. Barrett. He mentioned Uriah Hall. That was pretty fucking cool. He said he was the hardest hitter, the fastest guy, toughest son of a bitch in training. Shit, props for that. That was like unsolicited. Good interview.
Jamaica, Queens.
Hell yeah. Shout
also
out
the
to
home
Yao
of our
the
friend
Truth.
Yao the Truth, yeah.
Rest his soul.
Rest in peace, Yao the Truth. Moving on. Daniel Cormier, he was given that full-time UFC gig. They had sort of been looking for a new guy since letting Sonnen go, and it seems like they've landed on him. It's sort of funny because now that Sonnen and Penn are out, Cormier's my new favorite active fighter, and he's been given this gig that Sonnen used to have. Do you like the choice of the UFC going with Daniel Cormier?
This is pretty bad, man. I mean, ever since the
Boo to
only
you,
thing
he's
UFC
awesome.
Nah, he's pretty stiff on the mic. He's reading off the damn, and he's fumbling half the time. Like it ain't legit. Sometimes he'll be real, but he's like got that. He's got that dad, like Uncle Cop humor. There's just something
Racist.
too Carl Winslow-ish about him, and he's not going to replace Sonnen. No one ever is. UFC tonight's a sinking ship. The only thing they had going was Chael Sonnen, so it doesn't matter. They could have replaced Chael with Conor McGregor. It'd still be lame. Bottom line.
Hot take. Moving on, Chris Weidman, which if you don't already know, I'm a huge fan of them giving Cormier the full-time gig. Chris Weidman apparently saved some old lady's life. Apparently some lady like fell through a table or got RKO'd through her like glass screen door. I don't know what the fuck happened, but some old lady got fucked up. Chris Weidman called 911 and everyone's calling him a hero. Is he a hero?
Yeah, I guess he's a hero, but this is the only thing. I heard the story. He rescued some lady that had some old lady neighbor that had fallen through a glass table.
She got RKO'd through a glass table.
I guess. I mean, like, whatever it was, I'll tell you this right now. Chris Weidman's a braver man than I'll ever be, because if I had stepped outside and seen some old lady just screaming, covered in shards of glass, bloodied up, I would have screamed and yelled and run the fuck away. Like, I would not have helped that lady. I would have erased it from my memory. It would have been like when that crooked thing walks at you in the ring when you pop the VHS tape in. I have nothing to do with that, man. Some old lady covered in blood, glass stuck in her, dude. I would have bolted the other way and set a world record on my fucking wheelchair, and that's the bottom line. So hats off to Chris Weidman. He is a hero. I ain't fucking around with geriatric fucking people covered in shards of glass like it was Hellraiser.
How do we know that it wasn't Chris Weidman himself who RKO'd that old lady through the glass table?
Just to make headlines? Well, yeah, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, he was so mad about his hand being broken, he decided to just cave this lady's skull through a goddamn glass. What are they? What are they? Antique tables, whatever these old people have.
Yo, I've got a quote from Ross Finkelstein, who worked at Power MMA. Quote, this is a direct quote, folks. I'm not making any of this up. This is from Ross Finkelstein himself, who has worked at Power MMA, knows the Weidman family. Quote, Chris Weidman is the kind of guy who is always RKOing old ladies through glass tables. I'm not sure,
Yep.
but I think that could have been the reason she got injured in the first place. Unquote.
Sounds like the word in the street.
It sounds like something that Ross Finkelstein definitely said, and I didn't make up.
Didn't they change their name from Power MMA? I don't even remember the new one anymore.
To Ray
The shout
Longo's
out.
Training, Fitness Center, Spa, and Pizzeria, Inc.
What is it? What is the new name?
They're
I
selling
don't even remember.
calzones and 2 liters of Diet Coke wholesale.
And they got rid of my bastard son, Ross Finkelstein. That's right. Burn in hell, kid. Have fun at college, you son of a
Yo.
bitch.
Have you spoken with your bastard son recently? You're
I sent him a
true
couple bucks.
blood.
Just to set him up in his new place. He's going to college now. He thinks he's a big shot. He thinks he's going to be something. Stupid fucking son of mine. Word on the street.
Word on the street. Let's move on to the 10 solid seconds of sports. We break down all sports that aren't MMA. Game 1 of the World Series was tonight, and the Giants absolutely blew out the Royals 7-1. But do any of us really care about baseball? Let's be honest here. NCAA football rankings, Mississippi State still on top. Cowboys doing well, I guess. What the fuck ever. Let's move on before we start breaking down UFC 179. Just a couple fights to break down. Thiago Alves and Jordan Meehan. We were going to see it a little while back. It got scrapped. It's back on. Who you got in this fight? I'm sort of leaning toward the young blood and Jordan Meehan, although Thiago Alves, I think, could very well still have one last mean streak in him. What do you think about this fight?
Jake, man, you know I never waste your time and try to bullshit you if I don't know who these people really are. Yes, I've heard of them. Yes, I've seen their fights before. I could not tell you which division they're in or what this means or their records or
super
their previous
heavyweights.
opponents. Well, honestly, I thought they've all had a chance to face Kelvin for some reason in the back of my mind, but I think
Neither
they
has
both
fought
backed
Kelvin.
down. No, I mean, they've all had a chance, but it fell through or so. Are they in the
That's right.
welterweight division?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are both welterweights. They are ranked below Kelvin.
Yes, they were supposed to fight him at some point or something. I don't even know, but he could whoop their ass. So I don't care about these people, and I don't care about who wins this fight. Thiago Alves, I know for a fact that he's some sort of SWAT team Brazilian or something, and even he couldn't face Kelvin, man. You got nothing against KG, man. I got nothing but to say about you, man. I'm not taking this fight seriously. This is a no bet. It's one of those, it's going to be fun to watch, but ultimately, it's insignificant.
These crazy fucking people, they didn't have electricity. They didn't have any of the
No
shit
drills,
we have.
no fucking nothing.
Copper tools. is
Nothing.
all they can
No
prove.
Twitter. You don't see them fucking crying, going to therapy, drinking 5-hour fucking energy like us.
Is
a
there
bunch of fucking
anything-
momos. Think about that.
That's right, Joey Diaz. And one more fight to break down before UFC 179. Alexander Gustafsson and Rashad Evans. Apparently that's in the works. January 24th in Sweden. I know you've heard of both of these guys. The winner of this fight would definitely be in position to fight the winner of the John Jones Daniel Cormier fight, which will take place January 3rd at UFC 182 in Las Vegas. I'm leaning Gustafsson, but Rashad Evans has been on a mean streak. This is going to be a really, really interesting fight. Which way are you leaning here?
Well, if this fight actually does happen, I'll go with Rashad because he's...
I don't blame you.
he seems a little bit more like he's got a little bit of the fire back. Of course, that was all Chael Sonnen's doing. He jobbed to him. He gave up the win easily to Rashad. Chael was in no condition to fight that night, even if he wanted to win. But yeah, Rashad, he saved his career. So now Rashad's got to capitalize, do something with it. He's got a little bit of confidence. He's got a little bit of mojo. And Gustafsson, I heard, is just, he's fucked up too. Just injury after injury, like just nagging on him. There's a reason he's not out there fighting that often. It's not because he's waiting for the stupid title rematch. He got messed up too. But Rashad, he's coming off of a long, like a vacation basically, and recovering surgery. And I heard it went well. He's doing all right. And of course, let's be honest, man. He did what he had to do against our man Chael Sonnen. It was impressive. He was powerful. I think he wins this one easily. But again, I haven't seen anything saying this is gonna be a done deal or anything that's happened for real. But I'll watch it. And I would actually put money on Rashad. He'll probably be the underdog for some goddamn reason. But Gus, I don't believe it. He lost the title fight. Everyone accept it. That's the bottom line.
You got to break out the yay weed when I come up here, dog.
And
That's right.
My God, I'm sorry, Jake. I just want to say this, and I'm not going to address anybody in particular, but when you got 3 people tweeting at Chael Sonnen asking him to call them because it's urgent.
Give him a break.
Important. Yeah, man. Jesus Christ. What do you think? It's like 11 o'clock
Give this man a break.
at night. This guy, like, what? Call me, need you?
Email me.
Jesus,
DM me.
man.
Call me. Chill. DM me. Chill. DM me. Chill. DM me.
Go to your backup plan or something.
Call me.
Like,
Chill. Text me.
This
Text
man
me, chill.
is
Call me.
is honestly busy. Don't you people? He has a family. He has a wife. He has a dog. That's all I have to say about that before I get myself in trouble.
Yeah, and obviously we won't name names, but if you are listening to this show and you find yourself tweeting at Chael Sonnen more than 10 times a day, maybe take a look at yourself. Think, why am I tweeting this one person? Like, should I be taking this much time of this person's day with my bullshit? And like you said, I'm not going to go any further before I get myself in trouble. UFC 179. Ramses does not have a fight tip tonight because, let's face it, people, it's late. Ramses has been working all day, so we're going to shift gears, get to UFC 179. We're only going to break down the main and co-main event, but it's going to be a fun card. This Saturday in Rio de Janeiro. I'm checking on the time right now. That's why I'm sort of stalling. I think it's going to be at the same time as normal. We got a lot of faces. We got Gilbert Burns on the Fight Pass card, Andre Fili, Scott Jorgensen, Neil Magny, who's actually going for his 5th win of 2014. He could very well go 6-0 in 2014, which is something we haven't seen in a very long time. Darren Elkins, Fabio Maldonado, a lot of fun fights. But Ramses, tonight we're just going to be breaking down the main and co-main event. In the co-main, we got Phil Davis, who his striking as of recently has been suspect at best, man. He lost to Rumble Johnson, just got his ass handed to him, which everyone thought it would either be a Rumble first round KO or Davis would win. The judges not, but Johnson fought for 15 minutes, won the unanimous decision. And let's be honest, his striking against Vinny and Lyoto looked abysmal, and he's going to be taking on a guy who's known for top-class striking, and Glover Teixeira fighting in the pit with John Hackleman. His loss to John Jones was his first loss in 20 fights. He TKO'd Ryan Bader. He subbed James Tahuna. He decisioned Quentin Jackson. He TKO'd Fabio Maldonado. He subbed Kyle Kingsbury. He is an absolute killer. And honestly, No, Davis is an amazing wrestler, an amazing athlete. He's got some pretty great jiu-jitsu, but I don't know if he's able to take the fight to the mat. And if it stays standing, I really think it's going to be Glover all day. Glover's got crazy striking, especially in the clinch where Phil might try and take it to get the fight to the ground. I don't know if he's strong enough to just shoot for a double leg and just take him down like that. But yeah, I'm going Glover, and this one actually let me pull up the fight odds just because I'm curious. I haven't even looked at the odds yet. Yeah, Glover actually is a pretty big favorite, minus 335 against Davis, who is plus 275. And if you are looking for fight odds, go to bestfightodds.com because they have the best fight odds. Ramses, what are you thinking about this main event between Glover and Phil Davis, the Penn State D1 wrestling alum?
Man, this fight, I believe that these people, Phil Davis and Glover, I think they're evenly matched, honestly. But I think it's still a weak match. Nothing really compels me about this. We saw, I'm just being real by what I know and what I've seen. Glover, he jobbed to Rampage. I mean, it was a work, like in the sense that he took it easy on Rampage, gave him an easy out. So I know that, Glover, it's not going to always, I mean, after you see him do something like that, you can't count on him being a 100% genuine fighter after that. You're like, all right, I know for a fact that he did this one thing in the Rampage fight, carried Rampage the whole damn time, just out of respect. On one hand, that takes skill to do as a fighter, but on the other hand, you're carrying your opponent, you're working a fight. So for that reason alone, I think Phil Davis and Glover are evenly matched. But Phil Davis, man, I'm even surprised. I'm surprised every time that he's back in the UFC again. He's a great fighter, but he's a gamer. That's his whole thing. He's a gamer, and I don't believe. I honestly would not bet this match. I don't care who wins. But, man, Phil Davis has blown it every chance he's gotten at an actual real fight. You said it yourself, man. Vinny Magalhaes, people don't even know this. Vinny actually fought Phil Davis with a torn shoulder. All right? And Phil Davis, it was still to a decision. Phil doesn't go for the finish. He's not lethal in any sense. He's not that powerful. He's just a good wrestler, and he just wrestle fucks you to the victory. That's what happened to Vinny. Vinny was broken in half and still took the fight. All right, that's a fact. Ask him if you want. So Phil Davis versus Glover. I don't know who's gonna win. I would lean Glover's side, but at the same time, I would never bet this. Because honestly, they're both playing the game, and I don't bet on those kinds of fights, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, and the guy's only KO or TKO wins, Davis, pardon me, were in 2009, I want to say a year before he joined the UFC. Since he joined the UFC, and I think he's had 10 fights since. He has yet to win a fight via KO or TKO. The guy's striking is just not lethal at all, unlike our friend Wayne Barrett. Like I said, tune in November 7th at Glory 18. We will be on Press Row in Oklahoma City. We'll try and talk to Wayne after he defeats Jason Wilness. It's going to be a fun fight. But before we get to the main event in Mendez versus Aldo, I actually was thinking about this. I sort of want to make our last topic the main event. It's going to be a huge fight, the featherweight rematch. The first fight sort of shrouded in a little bit of controversy, with Aldo holding onto the fence at two separate occasions, once to defend from a takedown, the other one to sort of whip himself around and land a knee that finished the fight. So both of them were very big moments. But first, I want to talk about when this fight's over, UFC 179, we're going to have 2 weeks until the next event. Rockhold versus Bisping. Ramses, how hard is the UFC going to sell Rockhold versus Bisping from November 25th to November 8th? There is going to be so much, just like I've seen the poster. It's a giant, U.S. and UK flag, and they're talking a crazy amount of shit, which is funny. The fight's going to be in Sydney. It's not even going to be in America or the UK. Like, way to take advantage of these guys' markets. It's going to be in Sydney, and it is going to be the same day we see the Shogun Manoa fight. But Ramses, how hard are they going to sell this rivalry between Rockhold and Bisping?
Well, actually, when you have these two going at it, this is actually doing the UFC a favor, the UFC PR a favor. They actually don't have to do much selling their part. They know these fighters are going to try to drum up the beef as well as they can on the Twitter and in the face-offs. They know. They know their roles. They know how to play it up. They both know. Both of these gentlemen know how to sell a fight. And that's why this came together. Because you don't have to push it that much. Everyone knows they hate each other. They're both just too similar. It had to happen. It's been building. A couple tweets here and there, and then a good old-fashioned stare down will be enough to do what they have to do for this fight. But every now and then, someone gets creative and throws something down that's just too ridiculous, like crosses the line. I hope something like that happens. Not like a Jones and DC brawl, throwing people through the stage kind of thing. Even though that would be awesome. I never care about that. But I'm just saying it doesn't have to go to the extreme. But, yeah, this isn't up to the UFC to promote. This is all on Bisping and Rockhold, and they know what to do. They are pros. Shit, I mean, they both work the fighter too. You're kidding yourselves if you don't believe that. That's the bottom line, and I still respect them. They're great fighters. I will tune in and pay money to see this goddamn thing.
Rockhold a big favorite in Vegas. Which way you going?
If I had to call it right now, I would go Rockhold, only because obviously Bisping, I hate to blow up your spot, Mike, but I'm hearing he's literally blind in one eye, and he's just getting by. That's what I heard. Don't quote me on that. I'm not saying that's a fact, but I'm hearing the man is basically blind in one eye and fighting. So for that reason alone, you got to give it to the younger, bigger guy, just playing the odds. But maybe he's got the eye of the tiger or some shit. I don't fucking know. Maybe the one eye of the tiger. I don't know. Word on the street.
Word on the street, and that brings us to our last topic of the night. A very, very interesting fight. We rarely see a champion take on a true number one contender. I'd say maybe a third of the title shots we see are with a champion and a true number one. None of this Mighty Mouse versus Carriazo shit. This is Chad Mendes, who has proven himself to be the best at 145, aside from Jose Aldo. And Jose Aldo, who, look at his record, man. He is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters. I would say he is top 2 along with John Jones, and you could put him 1 if you really wanted. Even when GSP and Silva were at the top, Aldo, his name was being talked, with those same guys since joining Zuffa. His first fight in Zuffa, June 1st, 2008, he defeats Alexandre Franca Nogueira. Since then, he's gone 14-0 under the Zuffa banner. Sound similar to Anderson Silva going 16-0. This guy has beaten everybody Zuffa has put in front of him. But now we got this guy in Chad Mendes, who the first fight, like I mentioned, shrouded in a lot of controversy. Aldo grabbed the fence twice. Once was to stop himself from getting taken down. The other one was to sort of whip himself around, which led into the knee that finished the fight. And Jose is facing odds in Vegas that are slimmer than he's seen in a long time. Usually the guy is a favorite by a wide margin. He's only minus 230 this Saturday. Mendes plus 190. He's won 5 in a row since that fight at UFC 142 in Rio against Aldo, defeating Cody McKenzie, Yautzen Meza, Darren Elkins, Clay Guida, and Nick Lentz, all just one-sided, not even close fights. He's got another shot, and a lot of folks are saying that he's going to take the belt. Man, honestly, I am more on the fence for this fight than I've been for maybe any fight in 2014, because on one side, Jose Aldo, one of the greatest fighters of our generation. I mean, him and Jones currently have the most storied legacies. And, if Aldo, say, wins another, 2 or 3 years worth of fights, he's probably the best fighter the UFC's ever seen. On the other side, Chad Mendes. We've seen Team Alpha Male doing extremely well. His teammate TJ Dillashaw taking the belt from Renan Barao earlier in the year. The guy not only has amazing wrestling, but his striking has been on point. Of those 5 wins I mentioned, 4 of the 5 are by KO or TKO. Man, this is going to be a hell of a fight. Which way are you leaning?
Well, I actually rewatched because I had no memory of the first fight between Aldo and Mendes. I rewatched it earlier today, especially because, in the back of my mind, I remembered some sort of controversy about the first fight, saying that there was some
fence
bullshit,
grabbing.
Right, Aldo had grabbed the fence or whatever. And I rewatched the fight today because I was like, all right, if I'm gonna embarrass myself and talk about it on the MMA podcast, I might as well have some sort of understanding of what the fight was. So I rewatched it, and the fence grabbing was actually maybe 2-3 seconds. It wasn't. It was Mendes going for a takedown, and Aldo grabbed the fence and might have prevented it, but I mean, seconds later, Mendes gets it anyway. So people were saying the whole fight hinged on that. And that was the argument that Mendes had a chance and he might have put up a fight. The replay of that fight, it's Aldo and Mendes. They start off exchanging leg kicks. Of course, Aldo has the more powerful ones. Mendes is hitting him with a few, but it's not doing a goddamn thing. And then Aldo stuffs his takedowns and then gets pressed up against the cage. It looks precarious for a second, but he rotates off the cage and then knees Mendes in the face and then proceeds to knock him out clean. TKO victory. That's open and shut to me. That is not something worthy of a rematch, in my opinion. Having watched it today again, I believe that
and that's why they made Chad fight 5 more times.
Yeah, unless Jose Aldo is, and he is injury prone as well. Unless he's going through something fucked up and that affects the fight, Mendes does not stand a chance this time either. He's going to get owned and out-techniqued. And just, for some reason, Aldo, he's the smaller, muscular guy. He's more powerful. The way he puts his whole body into his striking. Mendes doesn't do that. Mendes is trained I'm pressing A, I'm pressing X, Y, B, X, Y, B. He's one of those guys. And Aldo, man, he's just a wild man. He'll sacrifice that leg if he has to. He doesn't give a shit if it breaks in half like Anderson. So hopefully if he comes with that, Mendes doesn't have a chance. It's going to be the same as the first fight exactly. The only way Mendes wins is just if Aldo is coming into this fucked up and he gets off first. So it's just luck that we're relying on. So I would bet this one Aldo. I would. honestly, and that's the bottom line.
He's betting it all, though. For podcast's sake, I'm gonna go Chad Mendez. I think the guy has got a 16-1 record, and that only fight was to Jose Aldo. And argue as much as you want whether or not that fence grabbing would have made a difference. He definitely grabbed the fence that stopped him from a big takedown, and that would have been a huge takedown in the fight. He also grabbed the fence to turn himself around to score the fight finisher. So I think him grabbing the fence did make a huge difference. It's going to be another fight in Rio, and I got Chad Money Mendez taking the whole thing. Like we said at the top of the show, thanks so much for tuning in to the show. If you want to check our archived episodes, visit us on the MMApodcast.com. Click the tabs at the top for the the iTunes and the YouTube feeds. Visit us on Twitter, the MMA Podcast. Visit the MMA Mental. Ramses, where do we follow your ass?
The Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. I have the word on the street. Thank you, Jake, from the MMA Podcast. Thank you to my girlfriends on Twitter. Everybody that loves me, follows me.
Katie Bear, Lexi.
All of them. Every single one of them. Leave Chael Sonnen alone. His podcast drops tomorrow. You're welcome. Word on the street.
That's right, it's the trifecta of podcasts. The MMA Podcast Tuesday nights, You're Welcome Wednesday, and The Word on the Street Thursday nights. We haven't seen a word on the street in a while. Ramses is a busy man. He's got work. He's planning to build space shuttles and satellites to keep an eye on his Twitter girlfriends. He's got a lot of shit going on. Follow our friends at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L, Yow_the Truth, Westland Eagle AH, C Lowenstein, our boy Sweet Pappy Jones. If you've been on the show, Davey Boy, our boy Technics. We love the shit out of everybody listening. We'll see you next week. We gone.
Triumphant, pour with pride and abundance. Look up to the sky, hide a little smile and amusement. Never grown accustomed to losing, live and die for the love of this music. Cabela thrives when the time